Remember when I told you that when you're trying to get peace from your symptoms, from your evolution, you apply the rest in peace protocols at the micro level, which will then eventually have a rest in peace type of mechanism at the macro level, and that's called death. So, oh my God, another thing to support my theory about equilibrium, because I'm trying to put together a formula of like pain on the jelly juice equals pain off the jelly juice, and that is equal indefinite life or indefinite death. Okay? And that is a non equilibrium, right? Because you're going through pain, but the outcome is going to be either life or death. And that's why you have to understand jelly juice for what it is, because it is applying the right chemistry for life, but you're never going to reach a point of equilibrium unless you try to stay, unless you're trying to induce cures. Cures is where you're trying to keep the state of the entity the same. And so this is from the Nature of Consciousness, which I don't know how the hell I came upon this, but I'm writing my book. I'm writing this portion of my book about equilibrium. Hell, I don't know what caused me to go and look for this, to find this beauty of a find. Well, where am I at on this book anyway? Yeah. When, for example, if you apply two different derivative mechanisms, triggers of pain in the allopathic holistic world, and jelly juice, the two derivatives are essentially equal. Pain on the jelly juice, pain off the jelly juice, okay? But the solution outcome or the function can be quite different. If you ever reach a point of equilibrium, that's when you die. So you don't, because that's the thing is, if you are just, if everything is a constant, and this is where you have to read this now, because I'm gonna have to, this is where I'm gonna have to write this. I don't know. So I don't know. I just Googled equilibrium. I can't. Well, life as non-equilibrium. Equilibrium is death. Non-equilibrium is life. So in the 1960s, the Belgian but Russian-born physicist Ilya Prigogine had a fundamental intuition. Living organism functions as a dissipative structure, a term first introduced by the Ukrainian chemist Alfred Lotka. There are structures that form a pattern in the energy flow that have the capacity for self-organization in the face of environmental fluctuations. You're always going to be impacted by somebody else's energy. You are never going to be in a state of just stillness, okay? That's just not possible. In other words, they maintain their structure by continuously dissipating energy. Such dissipative structure resides permanently in states of non-equilibrium, unlike inanimate matter. Life maintains itself far from equilibrium. The form stays pretty much the same while the material is constantly being replaced by new material, part of which comes from matter, food, air, water, and part of which comes from energy, the sun. The flow of matter and energy through the body of the living organism is what makes it possible for the organism to maintain a relatively stable form. In order to stay alive, they have to always be in a state of far from equilibrium. So equilibrium is death, non-equilibrium is life, which is duh. You can't walk outside and think you're not getting impacted by the weather, by your friends and family, by, cars and whatever. That's why I'm saying, like, people don't understand that. You have to understand balance, because you'll never be in a fucking bubble. You'll never be in a white room with no air. You will always be impacted by something. And here's the solution of the riddle. Equilibrium is a state of maximum entropy, uniform temperature, and maximum disorder. A system that is not in equilibrium exhibits a variation of entropy, which is a sum of variation of entropy due to the internal source of entropy, which tends to increase towards equilibrium. So this is why you have to then bring in negentropy, okay? Which is what I'm going to be introducing. Plus the variation of entropy due to the interaction with the external world. The former is positive, but the latter can equally be negative, therefore total entropy can decrease. So an organism, so let me read that again. And here's the solution of the riddle. Equilibrium is a state of maximum entropy, which means you are releasing, right? And you should be regenerating. Or else if you're in maximum, entropy, then you are releasing more than you, and but maximum entropy is that's death. So equilibrium is a state of maximum entropy. So that means uniform temperature and maximum disorder. So when you die, you're not increasing heat or decreasing heat. You are just stuck. You're stayed. You're stuck. A system that is not in equilibrium exhibits a variation of entropy, which is a sum of variations of entropy due to the internal source of entropy, which tends to increase towards equilibrium, plus the variation of entropy due to the interaction with the external world. The former is positive, but the latter can equally be negative. Therefore, total entropy can decrease. So you can actually decrease your entropy activity by applying heat, eating food, sealing your fucking gut. Excuse my language. I know I'm swearing. An organism lives because it absorbs energy from the external world and processes it to generate an internal state of lower entropy. An organism lives as long as it can avoid falling in the equilibrium state. So when you're flatlining, that's equilibrium. That's what happens when you guys are not bringing enough energy into your body to be able to regenerate and reverse your issues and have enough on reserve. So when you go into different states of fluctuation, your body has enough reserves on hand to go and release and regenerate. It's all balance, people. In a sense, organisms die because this process is not perfect. If our bodies could be made to keep their shape exactly the same, they would always remain far from equilibrium and they would never die. Okay? So, now we're introducing jelly juice to where you're always going to be a state of fluctuation. You'll never be in equilibrium. Like today, I coughed today. Yesterday I didn't cough, but I was kind of tired. I'm always going to be, because I'm utilizing energy, I'm being impacted by the energy on Facebook. I'm being impacted by the energy of my husband, my dog, my environment. You're always going to be, and you could say change, but you're always going to be influenced by something. It's just your ability to balance out all the different energies that are coming your way and know when to put boundaries down, know when to utilize your energy or when to save your energy. It's all balance. Okay? Okay, if our bodies could be made to be kept their shape exactly the same, they would always remain far from equilibrium and they would never die. Well, that's knowing balance. Now here's the thing. But there is a reason why it is not perfect and we have to die. And this is where they're introducing now a propaganda. A stable, immutable form of life would have scant chance of surviving the continuous changes in the environment, whereas a form of life that continuously reshapes itself has a chance to evolve with the environment. So the thing is that thermodynamics is how you utilize energy. So we don't have to die, but the fact that people are not realizing how to retain energy is what's then causing this person's belief system. So but then there's a reason why it's not perfect and we have to die. A stable, immutable form of life would have scant chance of surviving the continuous changes in the environment, whereas a form of life that continuously reshapes itself has a chance to evolve with the environment. So here you're doing the jelly juice, you're going through your evolution, you're not suppressing your evolution with antibiotics and killing yourself at the micro level. You'll still maintain your shape and your form, but yeah, you will be constantly adapting, constantly recalibrating to the changes in your environment. So thanks to the advent of non-equilibrium, it is now possible to bridge thermodynamics and evolutionary biology. By focusing on entropy, structure, and information, it is now possible to shed some light on the relationship between cosmological evolution and biological evolution. Biological phenomena can be viewed as governed by the laws that are purely physical. This step might prove as powerful as the synthetic theory of evolution. Progenies' non-equilibrium approach to evolution, i.e. that biological systems from bacteria to entire ecological systems are non-equilibrium systems, has become a powerful paradigm to study life in the context of physics. Life can finally be reduced to a natural phenomenon just like electromagnetism and gravity. The Austrian physicist Erich Jansch has extended Progenies' vision of life to the entire universe. The universe is as a gigantic self-organizing system subject to the laws of non-equilibrium thermodynamics. The U.S. chemist Jeffrey Wiccan went as far as to state that thermodynamics is above all the science of spontaneous processes and link life with the expansion of the universe. Okay, so obviously, now I don't see how Rockefeller and the Rothschilds and esoteric knowledge and Manly P. Hall would allow this type of thought process to be if they knew how to regenerate life and how to stay alive indefinitely. I mean, this is from the 1960s. I can't imagine that someone like a Belgian Russian born physicist in the 1960s and then someone like Alfred Lotka and whoever, wherever he came from, why they allow this belief system when there are ways to take chemistry to be able to retain and be able to adapt to the conditions without maximum entropy. I just can't. So I don't think they even. I mean, as much as John, I want to believe that they knew this, that they have the act, that they knew about jelly juice and the whole point of jelly juice and, reversing the aging process and living forever. I, I want to believe that, but then I'm reading this stuff and I'm thinking this is so technical. This would have to be such a major conspiracy of really keeping information from minds like this to where they really want people to think that you're supposed to die. It just seems like I would think someone would want to be famous even back in the 1960s, 1940s. Because if you invented that people don't die and they stay, then why would you need to have a maximum workforce? You know, unless you want someone to build the infrastructure, but you can still do what we're going to potentially do in what do you call it? In the future with 500 million people and still have a workforce of people. You can regenerate people at the macro level and apply the chemistry to create, very well functioning people, teach them a trade, or teach them how to build an infrastructure like, I don't know, Facebook, or maintain it. But I mean, this right here is like, you see the propaganda in here. This is the propaganda that you're reading. But then there's a reason why it is not perfect and we have to die. We don't have to die. But this is what their response to this. This is what their conclusion to this is. A stable, immutable form of life would have scant chance of surviving the continuous changes in the environment. Whereas a form of life that continuously reshapes itself has a chance to evolve with the environment. So we don't have to die, but the fact that they're applying cures to keep you in an immutable form of life with, to keep you in this cured state, because that's what cures are, is to try to keep you in the state before you went through that entropy, negentropy process, but they're trying to slow down the entropy process. And so it's a trip. So yeah, so this is what's going to substantiate why you have to deal with symptoms when you are trying to evolve. Okay? This is the nature of consciousness. So life is non-equilibrium, but it doesn't mean you have to die, which is what they're saying here. So I'm going to put this in here, but I'm going to take away that you have to die. You don't have to die. But that is the current paradigm because scientists haven't figured out how to reverse the aging process to where you don't die. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Now, where am I going to put this? Control V. And hold on. But life is non-equilibrium. When you reach a point of equilibrium, that's maximum entropy. You're always going to be influenced by your environment, but you have to know how to balance your environment correctly to stay alive. Or else something else will overtake you, like viral proteins. And if you're not regenerating, then those viral proteins, when it's trying to evolve you, is going to usurp the energy that you don't have, and you'll be cannibalized. Okay? Oh, good, I have it here. So, but what I'm going to say in here is you don't have to die. Notice the propaganda programming. You don't have to die. So I'm going to make sure that's said. All right, so that's all I'm going to say. That's it. Bye.